Good morning. So we'll start. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll continue our discussion. In the previous class, we had started. Previous class, we had started discussing about thermodynamic cycles for gas turbines, and we have started with the simplest case, which is the simple Brayton cycle. We have taken certain assumptions also to study the simple Brayton cycle, and assumptions like the combustion products. We did not consider the combustion products, only air was considered, and isentropic expansion and compression processes were considered. Then there were no losses, constant Cp and Cv values. So all these assumptions we had taken, and then we have seen how the efficiency and the net specific work output varies with important design parameters. So for example, the efficiency, how it varies with compressor pressure ratio, and the work output, how it varies with the pressure ratio as well as the temperature ratio. So after that, we have studied about gas turbine cycles or Brayton cycle with regeneration. Okay. And we have seen that regeneration is a process to increase the efficiency of the gas turbine cycle. So it does not increase the work output, but it increases the efficiency. And why it increases the efficiency? How it does it? It uses the extra energy which was getting lost to the atmosphere from the exhaust gases. So part of that energy is used up for heating the air from the outlet of the compressor, so that less energy is required in the furnace. For the same output, less energy will be required in the furnace. So you get more efficiency. And then we have seen how the variation of efficiency looks like. And in this case, we have seen that the efficiency actually decreases with R. It does not increase with R, it decreases with R. Unlike the simple Brayton cycle. What was the cause for this? Why does the efficiency decrease with R, but for simple Brayton cycle it increases with R? Why this opposite behavior is present? For what change in physics occurs so that opposite behavior is present for the regenerative Brayton cycle?
So heat exchange efficiency. Heat exchange will go down.
Heat exchange will go down, not the efficiency. Heat exchange will go down. Correct. Means the scope for heat exchange, scope for regeneration is reduced if we keep on increasing the R value, because this 0.2 will go higher and higher, and the scope for heat exchange depends on the temperature difference between 4 and 2. So the nearer 0.2 is to 4, the less will be the scope of heat exchange. And if 0.2 goes above 0.4, then actually there cannot be any, the heat exchange will occur in the opposite direction. So efficiency will actually decrease from the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. So this point is equal to the point where T2 is equal to T4. This point where the regenerative cycle efficiency is equal to the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. And we have seen that also mathematically, that when T2 equal to T4, this happens. The work output for plots are similar to simple Brayton cycle plots. So we have not drawn them again because they are exactly same, because the work output does not change at all in the regenerative Brayton cycle. Next, we have started discussing about another modification, which is known as reheating. So Brayton cycle with reheat. So unlike the regenerative cycle, the role of reheat is different. The role of reheat is not to increase the efficiency, but to increase the net work output from the cycle. Okay. So it is not to increase the efficiency, it is to increase the net work output from the cycle. And we will see that in this case, actually, it comes at the cost of efficiency. So the efficiency actually decreases as compared to simple Brayton cycle. So the efficiency decreases, unlike steam turbines. In steam turbine, the efficiency actually does not decrease with reheating. In this case, it decreases with reheating, but the net work output increases. So we were discussing about this cycle, and I had shown you what the cycle looks like schematically. So there is a compressor like usual Brayton cycle. Then you have the combustion chamber. Then there are two turbines instead of one. So the first one is known as high pressure turbine, where the expansion occurs from the high pressure P3 to intermediate pressure P4. Then there is a second combustion chamber, where again heat addition at constant pressure occurs, and we go from 4 to 5. And then there is a low pressure turbine, where expansion occurs from the intermediate pressure P5 to the low pressure P6. Okay, and the exhaust gas comes out at 6. So you can close the cycle by assuming that there is a constant pressure heat loss process, heat rejection process from 6 to 1. So this is how the cycle looks like. 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression, 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat addition, 3 to 4 is isentropic expansion in the high pressure turbine, 4 to 5 is the constant pressure second constant pressure heat addition, 5 to 6 is the isentropic expansion in the second turbine, low pressure turbine, and 6 to 1 is constant pressure heat removal. Same process looks like this in PV diagram. 1 to 2 is isentropic compression. Compression, so pressure is increasing, volume is decreasing. Then 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat addition. Constant pressure process, heat addition means that the volume, specific volume is increasing at constant pressure. Temperature and specific volume will increase. Then 3 to 4 is isentropic expansion. Volume will increase, pressure will decrease. 4 to 5 constant pressure heat addition, and 5 to 6 is again isentropic expansion. And we have also discussed these things. Again, I am just revising because we need to continue discussion from here. So we can assume that, we'll keep this open. So the pressure ratio for the first turbine, high pressure turbine, is RA, P3 by P4. And for the second turbine is RB, P5 by P6. Okay. And the overall pressure ratio for the cycle is R, P2 by P1. So we can see from here that P2 by P1 is equal to, P2 is equal to P3, and P1 is equal to P6, and P4 is equal to P5. Okay. So by using that, we can just find that P2 by P1 is equal to P3 by P4 into P5 by P6, or R is equal to RA into RB. Okay. Now we have defined C to be R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Why we have defined this? Because we found that this is a term which we encounter very often. This is equal to the temperature ratio across the compressor. Okay. Or in the previous case, it was also the temperature ratio across the turbine. So C is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma equal to T2 by T1. Now we can similarly define Ca is equal to Ra to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Ra to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma will be equal to the temperature ratio T3 by T4 using the isentropic relation for ideal gas. Just a second. Okay, so we'll continue. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So CA is equal to T3 by T4 and CB is equal to RB, so which is the pressure ratio across the low pressure turbine. So RB to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So again, using the isentropic relation for an ideal gas, we see that CB is equal to T5 by T6. So using this top relation, R is equal to RA into RB, we can find that R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma is equal to RA to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma into RB to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, or C is equal to CA into CB, or T2 by T1 is equal to T3 by T4 into T5 by T6. Okay. Also, generally, T5 is equal to T3, we have discussed in the previous class. This is the maximum temperature limit in the cycle, which is governed by the turbine blade material. So you want to utilize the available limit to the full extent. So we generally design such that both the turbine inlet temperatures are same. Okay, T3 is equal to T5. So now we can write the net work output from the cycle as CPT3 minus T4 for the first turbine plus CPT5 minus T6 minus CPT2 minus T1. Okay, this is the net work output, and in non-dimensional form we can write this as W net by CPT1. So after some algebraic manipulations, what we can find is that so basically CP gets cancelled and you have T3 by T1 minus T4 by T3 into T3 by T1, this term, plus T5 by T1 minus T6 by T5 into T5 by T1 minus T2 by T1 plus 1. Okay. So T3 by T1 is the temperature ratio. If you remember, previously we have discussed maximum to the minimum temperature in the turbine, which is equal to, which we have denoted as T, temperature ratio as T. Then T4 by T3. What is T4 by T3? T3 by T4 we have seen is equal to CA. So T3 by T4 is CA. So T4 by T3 is 1 by CA. So 1 by CA into T. So T by CA. So minus T by CA. Similarly, T5 by T1 again is equal to T3 by T1 since T5 equal to T3. So which is equal to T. And T6 by T5 we have seen T6 by T5 is 1 by CB. T6 by T5 is 1 by CB. So and T5 by T1 is T. So minus T by CB. T2 by T1 we have already denoted this as C, and then we have 1. Okay, so this is the expression of net specific work output in non-dimensional form in terms of the non-dimensional parameters T and R, RA and RB. So C and CB basically can be written in terms of RA, RB and R. Okay. So to find the maximum work output, keeping the overall parameters constant. So overall parameters means C and T, which are the overall cycle parameters. So overall pressure ratio and overall temperature ratio constant, and assuming that C and CB can vary. Okay. So C is constant, but C and CB can vary. So if one of them changes, obviously the other has to change. Assuming that, we can find out what is the maximum work output if we take a derivative of the work output with respect to CA or with respect to CB, any one of the terms, because both of them are related. CA is equal to C by CB. So that we can take. So if we take a derivative with respect to CA, we will find that. So first term goes to 0. The second term is minus T into minus 1 by CA square. So which is basically T by CA square. Third term goes to 0. Fourth term is minus T CA C by C. CB. What is CB? CB is C by CA. Okay. So the fourth term is minus T CA by C. Okay. If you take a derivative with respect to CA, you will get minus T by C. And then C and 1 are constant. So those like derivative of those vanishes. So we are left with T by CA square minus T by C equal to 0, or CA is equal to root C. Okay. So which means that CB is also equal to root C, because we have seen that C is equal to CA into CB. So if CA is equal to root C, CB is also equal to root C, and CA is equal to CB. Okay, CB is equal to CA, or RA is equal to RB. So we have same pressure ratio. We don't have, means if we have the same pressure ratio across both the turbines, we get the maximum work output. Okay, if we have the same pressure ratio across both the turbines, we get the maximum work output from the cycle. In that case, we also see that P3 by P4, which is RA, okay, is equal to P5 by P6, which is RB. And because P4 is equal to P5, we can find that P4 is square root of P3 P6. Okay, so what is the intermediate pressure? That also we can find out based on the minimum pressure P6 and maximum pressure P3. Also, since T4 is equal to T6, why T4 is equal to T6? Because we have the same pressure ratio and T3 is equal to T5. So automatically T3 by T4 is equal to T5 by T6. So T4 is also equal to T6. Okay. So the work output from both the turbines are equal. So Cp T3 minus T4 is equal to Cp T5 minus T6, because T3 equal to T5 and T4 equal to T6. So both the turbines give the same work output at this condition when the maximum work output is present. And this condition, we can write the maximum work output to be, so W net by Cp T1 is equal to, so if you just go to this expression, 2T minus, so this term and this term will become similar, minus 2T by root C minus C plus 1. Okay. So 2T minus 2T by root C minus C plus 1. And you can do some rearrangement if you want. It does not simplify much. So I can take 2T out and it will become 1 minus 1 by root C minus C minus 1. Okay. And the efficiency in this case, when the work output is maximum, the efficiency is equal to. So what is the work output in dimensional form? It is CPT1 into this term. Okay. Now W net is CPT1 into this term. So CPT1 into 2T minus 2T by root C minus C plus 1 divided by heat input, which is CPT3 minus T2 plus CPT5 minus T4, because we have two heat inputs. And again, you can cancel Cp and divide by T1. So that will leave you with 2T minus, so basically this term on the numerator, 2T 1 minus 1 by root C minus C minus 1. Don't memorize these things. Okay. If derivation is given, you should be able to derive, but there is no point in memorizing these things. These are not something important that needs to be memorized. This is just like better to understand how the efficiency varies with T and C by plotting them. Anyway, we will see that. There's no point in memorizing this. So if a problem is there and on this, and if you directly use the formula to solve the problem, then I will not give you marks. So you have to actually solve the problem using first principles, means using proper calculation of what is the heat input in the compressor, what is the work input in the compressor, what is the work output from the turbine. Step by step you have to calculate instead of using these formulas. So anyway, this is equal to 2T 1 minus 1 by root C minus C minus 1 by T3 by T1 is T minus T2 by T1 is C minus C plus T5 by T1 is again T, and T4 by T1 is T by root C. We have seen that previously somewhere. Okay. That, T4 by T1 is T by root C. So this is the form for the efficiency. We can rewrite it in this form also. Why we are writing this? Because we can plot this in terms of T and C or in terms of T and R to see the effect of temperature ratio and pressure ratio on efficiency. That's why we are writing this. This is not for memorizing or using in some problems. This is just to actually be able to plot them in terms of T and C to see the variation of efficiency and of work output. Okay. So any questions?
Sir.
I will come to this plots, but
Sir.
from a yes, questions?
Sir, could you please explain how efficiency of cycle decreases with reheat?
I will come to that. But before that, I have a question here. So from the thermodynamic cycle or from the thermodynamics point of view, can anyone say why this reheating actually works? Means why do we get more work output from the reheat process? Although the expansion, like if I combine both the expansion processes, the expansion for the turbine occurs over the same pressure ratio. Pressure ratio is same, right? So P3 by P6 is same, which is equal to P2 by P1. So if I have a simple Brayton cycle where the expansion occurs from P3 to P6, I will have a cycle like this. So here my 6 point will be there, right? So why will the work output in this case for the simple Brayton cycle will be less as compared to the work output for the reheat cycle, although the pressure ratio is same? Or in other words, why T3 minus T6, like CP-T3 minus T6 is less than CP-T3 minus T4 plus CP-T5 minus T6?
Sir, area of TS diagram increases.
That is understood. So from that we know. But so just in thinking in terms of the turbine, forget about the compressor work input, everything. In terms of the turbine, why for the same expansion we are getting more work output? Constant pressure lines in a TS diagram, how do they look like? Are they parallel, constant pressure lines in a TS diagram?
Sir, they diverge.
They diverge. So if I have a constant pressure line, if I have the temperature difference here between two constant pressure lines and here, so with higher entropy we will have larger temperature difference for the same change in pressure. Okay. So because we are going towards the right side, towards more entropy by adding heat. Okay. So for the same change in pressure, we actually get more temperature difference for the same change in pressure. And as a result, what happens is that T3 minus T4 plus T5 minus T6 is greater than T3 minus T6. Or in other words, because the first part is same, is T4 minus T6, this distance, this is lower than this distance, T5 minus T6, because you are going towards the right hand side and because the constant pressure lines are diverging. So both are at the same pressure. So this point is at the same pressure as this point and this is at the same pressure at this point. But because the constant pressure lines are diverging, we get higher work output. Okay. So the efficiency looks like this. The efficiency with R. So for the simple Brayton cycle, the efficiency is given here by this blue color line. Okay. And then if you have a reheat cycle, it's Brayton cycle with reheat, for a small temperature ratio T equal to 2, it will be much lower. Then if you keep on increasing the temperature ratio, it will keep on increasing. T equal to 3 will look like this, T equal to 4 will look like this. If you keep on increasing further and further, it will increase, but it will the difference change will become lower. So it will never reach the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. It will be much lower than the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. This is because what happens is that the heat addition that occurs basically. So what is happening is that you need some extra heat addition to occur, and for that extra heat addition, the work output that you are getting is not at the efficiency that you would have got for the simple Brayton cycle. Okay. So the average in other words, you can say that. So, what will be the ideal way to say this? So directly you cannot compare, but what happens is that this extra cycle that is present, this extra part that is present, the efficiency for this is lower than the efficiency of the initial Brayton cycle. Okay, that would have been present if I had just stopped here, because the exhaust that occurs means the turbine work output stops at a higher point and the exhaust temperature is also higher. So compared to the heat addition, the work output and the see if I had a cycle here, just only a cycle here, okay, so the compressor work input as compared to the turbine work output would have been significantly high, because my compressor work input would have occurred at this point, which is where the constant pressure lines are much diverged as compared to this point. Okay, so the overall efficiency of this additional cycle will be less as compared to the simple Brayton cycle. So if you add both of them together, the average efficiency comes down. Average efficiency will increase if you can go to higher T values like this. Okay, but still it will never reach the efficiency of the simple Brayton cycle. What about the work output? Work output diagrams look similar to the work output diagrams that we had drawn for the simple Brayton cycle. So they increase with R and then starts decreasing, and they increase with T also, but the values are much higher as compared to simple Brayton cycle. Okay, although they look similar, so the T equal to 2 line looks like this, T equal to 3 line looks like this, but the values are, so these lines are much higher as compared to the simple Brayton cycle. So the work output increases, but the efficiency decreases by adding reheat, and that we can see here by plotting them. This is the same plot that we had drawn previously. We'll again see. So this is the efficiency of the simple Brayton cycle. We had seen in the previous class that for a compressor pressure ratio of 30, it goes to around 62-63%, something like that. It can be easily calculated because this is equal to, what was this equal to? 1 minus 1 by R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So then for the regenerative cycle, at T equal to 2, this is the efficiency, T equal to 3, T equal to 4, 5, T equal to 6. Okay, so these are the crossover points for the regeneration cycle. So below this value of R, you have higher efficiency for the regeneration cycle. Above this value, the simple Brayton cycle has higher efficiency. Okay, so these are for the reheat cycle, this green line. This is for T equal to 2, T equal to 3, T equal to 4, T equal to 5, and T equal to 6. You can see that they are not changing much. So if I have T7, T8, which are not practical, but if I add, they will just almost come very nearby to this line. So there will still be a big difference between the simple Brayton cycle and the efficiency of the reheat cycle. It is much lower than the simple. Much lower means it is significantly lower, not drastically lower. Unless you go to T equal to 2, nobody uses T equal to 2. So you will be using something like T equal to 5 or something like that. So it is somewhat lower than the simple Brayton cycle. Other lines we will come to later once we study about the other cycle. So this is the work output for simple Brayton cycle. T equal to 2, T equal to 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, non-dimensional form work output. Variation with R and T. And this is for reheat cycle, the blue lines. And you can see that they are quite higher. So T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, much higher as compared to the. They will also go down to 0, like you can see here, but at a much higher value of R, which is beyond the practical limit. So we get quite high work output. That is the reason we are using. Means that is the reason reheat cycles were designed or used. One thing you should remember here is that when we are studying about this regeneration cycle or reheat cycle, all this modification come at some cost, come at the cost of the weight of the system. So the weight of the system increases, okay, because we are putting in additional devices. For this case, you are putting in additional turbine, additional combustion chamber. For regeneration, we are putting in additional heat exchanger. So these are fine if these are land-based gas turbines, like industrial gas turbines. But for aerospace engines, like for example jet engines, any additional weight is very detrimental. So we do not want any additional weight. So for jet engines, because we have to carry that weight. So for jet engines, these are not practical. Jet engines are all designed on simple Brayton cycle, modification of simple Brayton cycle. These are more for industrial gas turbines, okay, where the weight is not of significant issue, not a significant issue. Questions? So then otherwise we will go to the next cycle, the next modification, which is a combination of reheat and regeneration. Okay. So this combination of reheat and regeneration is a very effective process. Why is this like if you compare it with a simple say regeneration, means only a Brayton cycle with regeneration or a Brayton cycle with reheat, if you combine reheat and regeneration, this becomes very effective. Can anyone say why this is very effective? What can be the physical reason behind this to be very effective?
Sir, with reheat, the scope of regeneration increases.
Correct. Good. So with reheat, actually, what is happening for the same pressure ratio, instead of the turbine output occurring at this point, right, the turbine output temperature, turbine exit temperature increases for the same pressure ratio. As a result, the scope of regeneration increases. As a result, regeneration plus reheat is a very effective combination. So how this component diagram and cycle look like? We have a compressor from 1 to 2, so the isentropic compression process, similar to simple Brayton cycle. Then from 2 to 7, we have heat addition in the regenerator. We are assuming for this case that we have an ideal regenerator where the full heat addition can occur up to the turbine exhaust temperature. So from 2 to 7, heat addition occurs in the regenerator, and this heat addition occurs with exchange of heat from the exhaust gases. Okay. So from 7 to 3 is the heat addition in the first combustion chamber at a constant pressure. From 3 to 4 is the high pressure turbine expansion. 4 to 5 is the heat addition in the second combustion chamber, again constant pressure. 5 to 6 is the isentropic expansion in the low pressure turbine. From 6 to 8 is the heat removal from the exhaust gases in the regenerator. So this heat from 6 to 8 goes for heating the air from the compressor, and that occurs. So it heats the air from 2 to 7. Okay. So CP T7 minus T2 is equal to CP T6 minus T8 from energy balance in the regenerator. And finally, the exhaust gases go out at a relatively lower temperature of T8. Okay. So this is how the TS diagram looks like. And as you had explained, as I have also explained, because the temperature is quite high at the exhaust instead of simple Brayton cycle, because of the reheating, the scope of regeneration is increased. Okay, so this is a very effective process. So in the PV diagram, it looks like this. 1 to 2 is the. So I will not show PV diagrams for all cases. I'm just showing for a couple of cases so that you know how to draw PV diagrams, because many times students just memorize this TS diagram and then they are unable to draw other types of diagram like PS diagram or PV diagram or TV diagram. But If you know the process properly, you should be able to draw any thermodynamic diagram. There should not be any difficulty. So each of the processes, you should know how to draw in any of the diagram. So if it is a TV diagram, temperature specific volume, that should not cause any problem. So anyway, for the PV diagram, 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression. 2 to 7 is the constant pressure heat addition. 7 point is somewhere in between 2 and 3. You cannot locate that point exactly in the PV diagram. Okay, you can locate it, but not while drawing. You have to locate it based on the change in volume, okay, due to heat addition. So from 7 to 3 is the constant pressure heat addition in the combustion chamber. 3 to 4 is the isentropic expansion in the first turbine. 4 to 5 is the constant pressure heat addition in the second combustion chamber. 5 to 6 is the isentropic expansion in the low pressure turbine. 6 to 8 is the heat rejection from the exhaust gas in the regenerator. And 8 to 1 is the heat rejection in the to close the cycle. Okay, which is not shown here. This is the real cycle where 8 is shown as open and 1 is shown as open. But when drawing, we are drawing them as closed cycles. So the work output from this, what is the work output from this? W net is equal to WT1 plus WT2 minus WC. Work output does not change as compared to the reheat cycle. Okay, so CPT3 minus T4 plus CPT5 minus T6 minus CPT2 minus T1. So we will assume here that the cycle is already optimized for maximum work output, which means that T3 equal to T5 and T4 equal to T6. Okay, so the maximum work output from this cycle is same as that of the Brayton cycle with reheat. Okay, regeneration does not increase the work output. So maximum work output is same as reheat cycle, as there is no effect of regeneration on W net. Now for this maximum work output case, optimal case, let us see what is the efficiency. Okay. So efficiency is work output divided by heat addition. What is the work output? We have seen the work output to be in the previous case reheat cycle. Work output is CPT1 into 2T minus C plus 1 minus 2T by root C. Okay, this part. This is the work output here. And what is the heat addition? CPT3 minus T7 plus CPT5 minus T4. This is the heat addition. So based on this, we can find the efficiency. Now, ideally, if the regenerator is an ideal regenerator, T7 is equal to T4 is equal to T6. Okay, so we will reach a temperature which is equal to the exhaust gas temperature. So if we use that relation, we can write T7 equal to T4. Okay, so then we will find, and if you divide by T1, you will find that T3 by T1 is T. Then T4 by T1, we have already found that T4 by T1 is T by root C. Okay, T4 by T1 can be written as T4 by T3, which is 1 by root C, into T3 by T1, which is T. Okay, so it is T by root C. Plus T5 by T1 is again T, because T5 equal to T3. Something is bugging me. Just a second. Let us continue. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you can we can rearrange the terms. Anyway, this expression would have been fine because we can just plot based on this expression also, but we can rearrange because we see that t minus t by root c is there twice. So we can finally after rearrangement we can write the expression as eta is equal to 1 minus c minus 1 by 2 t minus t by root c. Okay. Again, don't memorize these things. It is just for plotting that we are writing like this. So for this case, if we plot, again I will show you the plots. The reheat plus regeneration cycles efficiency looks like the red lines that I have shown. So it is similar to the reheat cycle, regeneration cycle, and they are more efficient until they cross over the corresponding reheat cycle plot. For example, for t equal to 5, this red line shows the efficiency of reheat plus regeneration, and this will be higher until we reach the blue line for t equal to 5, which is for the reheat plot. So what does this point signify where the crossover occurs? When will this occur, this crossover? Means what will happen in the cycle when this reheat plus regeneration cycle efficiency will be equal to the simple reheat cycle efficiency.
So again, T6 should be same as T2.
T6 will be same as
T2.
correct. So there is no scope for any more regeneration to occur. Yes, correct. No more scope for regeneration to occur. Okay, and so this is how it looks like. And in this case, let me just show you the plots first. Black line is the simple Breton cycle. Red lines are the regenerative cycles. T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Green lines are for the reheat cycle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the blue lines are for the reheat plus regeneration cycle. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is a directly we can see a difference. Okay, the difference is that if you add reheat to the simple Breton cycle, the efficiency is lower. Okay, although the work output was higher, the efficiency is lower. But if you add reheat to the regeneration cycle, the efficiency becomes higher. So if you compare the simple regeneration cycle efficiency given by these red lines and the regeneration with reheat, we see that with reheat cycle, the efficiency of the regeneration cycle increases. This is opposite to the behavior of adding reheat to the simple Breton cycle. In one case, adding reheat has decreased the efficiency. In the other case, adding reheat has increased the efficiency. That is why I was telling that reheating with regeneration is very effective. And what is the reason for that? We have already discussed, because the scope for regeneration increases significantly with addition of reheat, and as a result, the efficiency actually becomes quite high. You can see that we have theoretically the efficiency is much higher at say normal value of say R15 or 20. You get more than 70% efficiency. These are obviously theoretical limits. Practically, efficiency will be around 40% because of all the different types of losses. But theoretically, the efficiency is much higher. So very high efficiencies can be obtained if we use combined regeneration plus reheat. Theoretically, obviously, in real life, what will happen? Because of these additional devices, there will be more pressure losses in the regenerator than in the extra combustion chamber. So ultimately, we cannot just keep on adding more and more devices, because one is that capital cost will increase, initial cost will increase. Second is that the losses will increase, which will have a negating effect. Means it will somewhat temper the increase in efficiency, somewhat lower the increase in efficiency from the ideal case. Okay, but ideal case, you can see that we can achieve very high efficiency. Other important thing is that these plots are quite flat. It means that for very high R values also we can have quite high efficiency. They do not, even up to R equal to 30, this line is not crossing the simple Breton cycle efficiency. Okay, so this is quite interesting, and work output plots are same as these blue lines. So there is no difference in work output with regeneration and reheat. It is same as the reheat work output, which is already quite high as compared to the simple Breton cycle. So to summarize, higher exhaust temperature because of reheat is better utilized for regeneration, and efficiency is higher than simple regeneration cycle for the same value of T and R. Okay. Note that work versus R plots are same as for the reheat cycle, as that for the reheat cycle that we already discussed. Any questions here?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you just show how the maximum work efficiency is present in case of reheat cycle, only in the
Max-
reheat cycle? How we
Maximum-
derived CA and CB?
Yes. We have discussed, but we'll discuss again. So CA and CB are not independent, right? CA and CB are related to the overall pressure ratio C. So I will just keep it open here. So C is equal to CA into CB. Okay, C is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is equal to RA into RB whole to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, because R is equal to RA into RB. That is clear to you, right? So C is equal to CA into CB. Now, what we generally assume is that maximum temperature is fixed. So T3 equal to T5. The only variables are T4 and T6. Okay, which will depend on CA and CB. Now the work output we can write in terms of both the turbine work outputs minus compressor work input. So it is Cp T3 minus T4 plus Cp T5 minus T6 minus Cp T2 minus T1. Okay, so net specific work output in non-dimensional form, if you divide by CP_T1, you will get it. So this will be equal to T3 by T1. Cp, all the Cp gets cancelled. So T3 by T1 minus T4 by T1, which we can rewrite as T4 by T3 into T3 by T1. Then T5 by T1 minus T6 by T1. Again, we can rewrite that as T6 by T5 into T5 by T1. Then minus T2 by T1 plus T1 by T1, which is 1. So from there, then again, I'm just repeating this part so that we, for the sake of completeness. So T3 by T1 by definition is temperature ratio T, and T4 by T3 is equal to 1 by T3 by T4. T3 by T4 is RA to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is equal to CA. Okay, T3 by T4 is CA. So this becomes equal to 1 by CA into T, T3 by T1. Okay, so minus T by CA. Similarly, T5 by T1 is T, and T6 by T5 into T5 by T1 is T by CB. And minus C plus 1. This part is clear. So now what happens is that because overall we can assume that overall cycle temperature ratio and pressure ratios are constant, okay, for a given cycle. And our variables are CA and CB, and CA and CB are not independent. Means if I change one, the other can change. So there is only a single variable, CA, okay, or CB. So if we assume that CA is the variable, we can write CB as C by CA, right? Okay. So now you can just take a derivative of this net specific work output, non-dimensional net specific work output with respect to CA, and equate it to 0 to find what will be the value of CA for which the work output is maximum. Okay, and if you do that, so replace this CB by C by CA. So if you take that derivative, you can find it. So this term, this and this all are not a function of CA, so they all vanish. So we are only left with two terms. One is minus T by, so derivative of minus T by CA. So if you take a derivative of minus T by CA with respect to CA, we'll get T by CA square. Okay, minus minus cancels. And the second term is minus TCA by C. So it will give us minus T by C. So from here we find that CA square is equal to C. Okay. So from here, if you put CA square equal to C, you will find that CA is equal to
Yes,
CB.
sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So we
sir.
get
Got
CA. Yes. Ultimately, what we have is what it means is if CA is equal to CB and if T3 equal to T5, automatically T4 also has to be equal to T6 because the expansion in both the turbines are equal. That's why we are taking T4 equal to T6. Work
Yes,
output
sir.
in turbine system. Okay. So we will now move on to another type of cycle. Okay, another type of modification. This is known as intercooling. Okay, so Brayton cycle with intercooling or intercooled Brayton cycle. So this intercooling is another way, similar to reheat. This is another way of increasing the work output from the cycle. Okay, so this is not for increasing the efficiency. This is for increasing the work output from the cycle, similar to what we have done for reheating. Okay, let us try to take a look at how this works. So here the idea is that the compression process is actually split into two processes. So we have a first compressor. First compressor is the low pressure compressor. Okay, there the compression is occurring from P1 to P2, not to the ultimately, like we are not doing the entire compression in the first compressor. So we are going to some intermediate pressure P2. Okay, so from P1 to P2, and then at this point we are cooling the air by using some heat exchanger. We are cooling the air from T2 to T3. Okay, so we are reducing the temperature from T2 to T3, and then we have a second compression process where we again increase the pressure from T3 to P3 to P4. P3 is equal to P2 because this cooling occurs at a constant pressure. So this is a constant pressure line 2 to 3. So from then again we have an isentropic compression from 3 to 4. Okay, and we reach the full pressure. Then the other part is similar to simple Brayton cycle. So from 4 to 5 there is constant pressure heat addition, and from 5 to 6 there is isentropic expansion. And this is how the device looks like. So this cooling from 2 to 3 occurs in an intercooler. It is a heat exchanger where the cooling occurs by using some ambient fluid like water. Okay, some ambient fluid in a heat exchanger. So obviously this is not possible for jet engines. It is for industrial gas turbines because you have to continuously pass the cooling fluid. The cooling fluid may come from some source at normal say room temperature. Okay. So in PV diagram, how this cycle looks like. So you go from 1 to 2 constant pressure, isentropic compression. 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat rejection. That's why we are going to lower volume. Okay. Then 3 to 4 is isentropic compression again. 4 to 5 is constant pressure heat addition. 5 to 6 is isentropic expansion in the turbine, and 6 to 1 we are closing the cycle using constant pressure heat rejection. Okay. So the idea is that we have shifted this point. So we have shifted this process, this part of the process, to this part, okay, to a lower entropy part by using the intercooler. So what will happen for that case? How will it affect the overall compressor work input?
Sir,
So
specific
decrease
value.
in compressor work.
What will happen? Sorry, could not hear.
Sir, as specific volume decreases, compressor work decreases, sir.
Compressor work decreases, correct. Okay, we can see from this constant pressure lines also. The distance between the constant pressure lines is higher at this point as compared to, your point is correct, because the specific volume decreases, compressor work input decreases. So here also we can see the distance between the constant pressure lines is higher as we go towards this right side. So for the same pressure change, the the temperature difference is lower on the left hand side. So work input is lower. Okay, for this extra part. So this is the rule. So we are reducing the work input to the compressor, and we know that compressor work input is a significant part of the overall energy change in the cycle. So if we can reduce the compressor work input, we can increase the overall work output from the cycle. Okay, we can increase the overall work output from the cycle. Turbine work output remains same. We are not affecting the turbine work output. Turbine work output is still same as a simple Brayton cycle. If we had a simple Brayton cycle like this, turbine work output would have been same, but we are decreasing the compressor work input. So overall work output increases. From the area also you can see cycle area, but this is another way of seeing this. So now can you say that which will be more effective in increasing the increasing the work output? Whether reheating will be more effective, like just intuitively or using common sense, can you say whether reheating will be more effective or intercooling will be more effective for increasing the net work output?
Reheating.
Reheating, correct. Why?
Sir, here less amount of work will be decreased in case of compressor, but in case of turbine work will be increased a lot more.
Correct. Yes, good. So this is also because this the turbine, see, the same change of pressure occurs in both the compressor and turbine, but because the turbine process is much further towards the right hand side in the TS diagram, for the same pressure change, the temperature difference is higher. So any change that occurs towards the turbine side at higher will result in, so for the same change in pressure, higher changes in temperature differences and enthalpy changes will occur. So in that case, reheating will be more effective because you are changing a process which has higher work output associated with it, higher work exchange associated with it, as compared to intercooling. So your point is correct. Yes, because the turbine work output is higher, any change there causes more change in the net work output. Okay, but still intercooling is effective, but it is not as effective as reheating. So that's why, and also reheating is easier also, right? Because you just need an extra combustion chamber, which as compared to intercooler, it is easy because intercooler is a heat exchanger, and for heat exchanger you need a large surface area and some cooling fluid. So as a result, if something is needed for increasing the work input, work output, reheating should be preferred. We will see later that intercooling is very effective when combined with regeneration, again because of the same reason, because the compressor work, so compressor exhaust occurs at a low temperature, we get much more scope for regeneration with intercooling. So intercooling is very effective with regeneration. That's why intercooling is not entirely useless. It's also quite useful. Okay. Anyway, the idea is to reduce the compressor work input, and let us try to take a look at how to do the calculation. So the work input for the compressor is CP T2 minus T1 plus CP T4 minus T3. Turbine work output is CP T5 minus T6. Okay, and the heat addition is CP T5 minus T4. So the net work output is WT minus WC1 plus WTC2. So you can just add these terms. CP T5 minus T6 minus CP T2 minus T1 minus CP T4 minus T3. And to find the efficiency, divide, the net specific work output, divide by CP_T1, okay, in non-dimensional form. So which is equal to, so CP gets cancelled. We are left with T5 by T1 minus T6 by T1 minus T2 by T1 plus 1 minus T4 by T1 plus T3 by T1. Okay, just dividing this W net by CP_T1. Now, what is done in practice is that T3 is equal to T1. Okay. Again, can you use some logic to say why T3 should be equal to T1? Means not from the point of view of say, work output or something, but from practical point of view, we cannot have T3 which is lower than T1. Okay, and T1 also is not arbitrary. So how these points are fixed in real life? Can somebody use some logic and explain?
So ambient temperature and the cooling fluid cannot go below the ambient temperature.
Very good, very good. So T1 is fixed by ambient temperature and T3 is fixed by the temperature of the coolant fluid. And in the theoretical limit, the ambient fluid or the coolant will come at ambient temperature, okay, which is equal to T1. So, and theoretical limit, when like full heat exchange will occur, the maximum cooling that can occur is up to the ambient temperature. In real case, it will be higher, but ideal case, because we are still studying ideal cycles, T3 can become equal to T1. It depends on the ambient temperature. Good. So T3 is equal to T1. Okay. And T5 by T1, let us again consider that this is the temperature ratio, maximum temperature by minimum temperature. So T5 by T1 is equal to T. And T5 by T6 is the overall pressure ratio. Okay, sorry, overall temperature, it's a temperature ratio in the turbine, which is C, which is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, where R is the overall pressure ratio. So P5 by P6 is the overall pressure ratio. Okay, R. And let us consider T2 by T1 as P2 by P1, means T2 by T1 we know is P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Let us consider P2 by P1 as RA. So pressure ratio across the first compressor, let us consider is to be RA. So T2 by T1 is RA to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Let us call this as CA. Okay. Similarly, T4 by T3, let us consider the pressure ratio T4 by P3 as RB. So T4 by T3 is RB to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is equal to CB. Okay. Again, CA and CB are not independent. They are related to C. Okay. How they are related to C? CA, so R is equal to P5 by P6. And P5 is equal to P4 and P6 is equal to P1. Okay. So P5 by P6 equal to P4 by P1 and P2 equal to P3. So P4 by P1 can be written as P4 by P3 into P2 by P1, which is equal to RA into RB. So R is equal to RA into RB. And C is equal to, as a result, CA into CB. Okay. And this T5 by T6, which is R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, this is also equal to RB, RA to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma into RB to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. All these are related very easily. You can find this. Okay. And as we have already discussed, T3 is equal to T1 for the ideal case, because it is difficult to go below the ambient temperature, as the coolant in the intercooler will come at the ambient temperature. Theoretically, it is possible to go below because you can cool the coolant and bring the coolant, but that will mean that you have to use some extra energy for cooling the coolant. So there is no point. Ultimately, you are losing some extra work. Okay, so that's why. So anyway, where were we? So W net by CPT1. Okay, we can write as, where was W net expression? This one. Okay. W net by CPT1 is T5 by T1. T5 by T1 is T minus T6 by T1. T6 by T1 we can write as T6 by T5 into T5 by T1. So T5 by T1 is T and T6 by T5 is 1 by C. Okay. Then minus T2 by T1. T2 by T1 we have already seen that this is equal to CA. And plus 1 minus T4 by T1. Again, because T4 is T1 is equal to T3. No, it's fine. So T4 by T, yes, because T1 is equal to T3, we can write T4 by T1 as T4 by T3, which is equal to CB. and plus 1. Okay, so this is the expression for the non-dimensional net specific work output for an intercooled cycle. Okay, similar to the reheat cycle, now we can assume that the overall parameters, temperature ratio T and overall pressure ratio R are fixed by the overall design consideration. Okay, so if R is fixed, C, which is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, is also fixed. So our input parameters are temperature ratio T and pressure ratio R. Okay, and now we want to find the value of CA and CB for which the work output is maximum. We also know that C is equal to CA by CB. So both are not independent parameters. There is only one independent parameter here. Okay, so we can write this expression as T minus T by C minus CA plus 1 minus this CB we can write as C by CA minus C by CA plus 1. Okay, so for maximum work output we can take a we can differentiate this with respect to CA and equate it to 0, similar to our reheat case. And if we do that, we will get, so first term goes to 0. It's not a function of CA. Second term goes to 0. It's not a function of CA. For the third term, we get minus 1, then 0. Then this is minus of minus C by CA square. So plus C by CA square plus 0. Okay, so minus 1 plus C by CA square equal to 0, or C is equal to CA square, or C is equal to CA square means CA is equal to CB from this expression, because you can just replace C as CA square. So you will find CA equal to CB. So CA equal to CB equal to root C. Okay. So if the pressure ratio CA is equal to CB also means that RA is equal to RB. So if the pressure ratios are same across both the compressors, we get the maximum work output. This is similar to the reheating case, where the pressure ratios are same across the turbine, you get the maximum work output. Here, if the pressure ratios are same across the compressors, we get the maximum work output. Okay, and you can find this pressure, intermediate pressure, because CA equal to CB also means that P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma is equal to P4 by P3 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. If you remove gamma minus 1 by gamma, you get P2 by P1 equal to P4 by P3, or P1 into P4 is equal to P2 into P3. Now, because P2 and P3 are same, we can calculate any of them. So P3 square is equal to P1 P4, or P3 is equal to root over P1 P4. Okay. So the intermediate pressure is the square root of the product of maximum and minimum pressure. Okay. And also from CA equal to CB, we get that CA is nothing but T2 by T1, and CB is nothing but T4 by T3. So T2 by T1 equal to T4 by T3. And because we have assumed T1 to be equal to T3, we get that T4 is equal to T2. So these two points are at the same temperature. T4 equal to T2 for maximum work output. Okay. And what is this maximum work output? You can replace this CA with root C to find the maximum work output, and you will get this expression. W max by CP_T1 is equal to T minus T by C plus 2 minus 2 root C. Okay. Again, there is no point in simplifying, or there is no simplification for this. It's just for plotting the variation with respect to T and R. Okay, so that's why we are expressing in terms of T and R. C is nothing but it's a representation of R. C is R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So again, we can find the variation. For the intercooled cycle, we can find the variation with respect to T and R. We will see that in a minute. So the efficiency at the maximum work output also you can calculate. So maximum work output is CP_T1 into this term, right? W max is CP_T1 into this term, divided by the heat input will give you the efficiency. Heat input is CP_T5 minus T4. Okay. So again, by simplification, we find that the numerator remains same, T minus T by root C, T minus T by C plus 2 minus 2 root C. Denominator we have T5 by T1. T5 by T1 is T minus T4 by T1. Okay. So T4 by T1 is equal to T2 by T1. T2 by T1 we know is equal to CA, which is root C. So T minus root C. So again, if you draw the efficiency curves and the net work output curve, we will see that the efficiency looks like this for T equal to, so it increases with T and increases and then decreases with R, similar to the reheat cycle. And but it is always lower than the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. Okay, so it decreases the efficiency, but increases the work output. So the work output lines look similar to simple Brayton cycle as shown here. So again it increases and then decreases, but it is higher than that of simple Brayton cycle. To summarize, net work output increases as compared to simple Brayton cycle. Efficiency decreases as compared to simple Brayton cycle. Okay. This is useful when the value of R is high. And why this is useful? Not from the diagrams. From here, we can understand when the value of R is high, compressor work input is high. So small R values, compressor work input is small. If you have large R, means there is lot of compression that is occurring. So it means that compressor work input will be high. And then if you can use intercooler, it will be more effective. Okay. Regeneration is very effective with intercooler. Again, we already know this, we have discussed, because you lower the compressor outlet temperature, say from this point, we are lowering it to this point, we get much larger scope for regeneration. However, as I have already explained, the intercooler is bulky because it's a heat exchanger and you need a large surface area for proper heat exchange to occur. And it also needs large quantity of cooling water, okay, unlimited supply. So one of the main advantage of gas turbine as compared to other types of power generation method like steam turbines is that it is compact and it is self-confined. Self-confined means it's like a single unit. You can take it to other place and it will start working, unlike steam power plants. Okay, so these advantages are lost if we use an intercooler. So it does not remain compact and it does not remain self-confined now because you need a external water source continuously to supply water. So that's why intercooling is not popular. Okay. I have already asked this question. Will the net specific work output for an intercooled Brayton cycle be higher, lower, or equal to as compared to a reheat Brayton cycle for the same T and R? Okay. We have discussed that reheating will be much more effective as compared to intercooling because the changes occur in this region where there are large changes in temperature for the same pressure ratio as compared to this region where the changes in temperature are lower for the same pressure ratio. I will show a plot here. Again. So our familiar plot now by this point. So you should be able to generate these kind of plots easily. Why? Because these are just by writing simple programs, you can find out using those variations of eta and W net with respect to R and T. You can plot any variation with respect to R and T, and then you can see also. It's quite interesting. So simple Brayton cycle, then regeneration cycle, T is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Reheat cycle, green lines, 2, 3. Oh no, we will not show this one. Okay, I will not show this one. This is the simple. Sorry, this is the. I think this is the intercooled. No, this is the simple cycle. My R has gone up to 100. I will reduce it. 100 is too high. Let this be 100. We'll just plot till 30. Now it is fine. So again, simple Brayton cycle efficiency at 30, we had something like 62% or something like that. Regeneration, T equal to 2, T equal to 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have already seen this, right? Then reheating, the green lines, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blue lines, regeneration plus reheating. Okay. So up to this we have seen. It already looks quite complicated, but I have used different colors and different thickness to let you understand. So black line is the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. Then simple Brayton with regeneration are the red lines. Then simple Brayton with reheating are the green lines, and Brayton with reheating plus regeneration are the blue lines. And we know that efficiency decreases for reheating, and efficiency behavior is opposite with regeneration. And with reheat and regeneration, the efficiency is even higher as compared to regeneration, which the blue line shows. So corresponding intercooled cycles I will show by using dotted lines instead of solid lines. So all the without intercooled cycles, so all the cycles we will study with intercooling also. So without intercooled cycles are solid lines, but with intercooling, these are the dotted lines. So these are simple Brayton cycle with intercooling. Okay. Efficiency is higher as compared to the reheat cycle. Okay. So for intercooling, although the efficiency is lower than the Brayton cycle, efficiency is higher than the corresponding reheat cycle. And again, remember the changes are less when it is occurring at the lower side, low temperature side. So any change that is occurring in this side is low. So the increase in work output is also low, but the decrease in efficiency is also low. Whereas any change that is occurring here has a higher contribution. So the increase in work output is higher, but the decrease in efficiency is also higher. Okay. Also, you can understand this. Physically, it means that you need less amount of extra heat addition for intercooling as compared to reheating. For reheating, you need more amount of extra heat addition in the combustion chamber. That's why the efficiency is lower. Okay, there the extra heat addition is lower. So the efficiencies are more as compared to reheat cycle, but less than the simple Brayton cycle. Again, increases with T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but will never reach the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. Okay. So these other things we will see later. Let us see the work output. Simple Brayton cycle T equal to 2, we have seen previously that it goes to 0 at 11 point something of R. So this x-axis is R. T equal to 3, 4, 5, 6. Reheat cycle T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, blue lines are the reheat cycle. So remember, regeneration does not have any effect on work output. So simple Brayton plus regeneration is also black lines, and reheat plus regeneration are again the blue lines. Okay, these are the intercooled cycle. Okay. And only this, there is an anomaly here at the low temperature ratio, but for other case, no, here also the anomaly is only for a small region, but for all the other cases, you can see that the intercooled cycle efficiency is obviously larger than the simple Brayton cycle efficiency. So for T equal to 6, the solid black line is the simple Brayton cycle with reheating. Simple Brayton cycle. And this blue line is with reheating, and this black dotted line is intercooling. So the efficiency lies somewhere between the work output lies somewhere between simple Brayton cycle and the reheat cycle. Let me just again repeat, because just to summarize. So these black solid lines are the work output for the simple Brayton cycle. This is for T equal to 2, T equal to 3, T equal to 4, T equal to 5, and T equal to 6. Then with reheating added to Brayton cycle, the work output is given by the blue lines. So this is for T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Work output increase considerably with the addition of reheat. And the black dotted lines are the work output of Brayton cycle with intercooling. So this is T equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So intercooling also increases the work output, as you can see by comparing this solid black line to this dotted black line. But it does not increase the work output as dramatically as the reheating. Okay, and that we have already discussed. We can see from the plots also. Let us take, so still some time is left. I will take a break, short break, 5 minutes, and we'll see whether we can continue to some new topic. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think because we have covered a lot of material today, we will stop at this point, and we'll continue this discussion in the next class. Okay. So what I wanted to cover is already covered. I can continue with other cycles, intercool with regeneration and reheat, but too many things will be covered today. So better you read this part and come prepared in the next class. Next class will be next Thursday, because tomorrow is a holiday. Okay. And later I will give you some assignment problems. I need to write some programs, simple programs like this, to plot the efficiency and work output for real cycles. So I'm showing you, I will also show you cases for real cycles. Maybe I will give you something to plot on the jet engines. Then I have to decide what is to be given. Maybe industrial gas turbines, I will show all the cases, but for jet engines, you will be able to draw similar things. We will discuss later. So next class is on Thursday, and stop the recording.